Hi, my name is Craig Quintero, and I'm the Artistic Director of the Taipei-based Riverbed Theater. And we're really honored to have the opportunity to return to Venice and share our VR experience over the rainbow. This project started last year when I went to an exhibition at Taiwan National University of the Arts, and there was a small gallery space, and there was this painting on the wall, and it was a simple image of a man and a woman at a dining room table. But the artist had made this really smart choice to leave the space between them, to divide this one canvas into two. And as I was looking at the image, I was really struck by that gap between them and how close they were, but how far apart, right? That they were each in their own individual world, and how sad that is. And then we start to think about our own lives, and regardless how close we are to someone, we will never fully know them and will never fully be known. And so as I looked at this painting for 10 or 15 minutes, and I eventually decided I'm going to reach out to this artist. And so I contacted Liao Zhenyu and asked her if we could use her paintings for our VR experience. And she generously said yes, and we embarked on this creative journey. So at this initial stage, we didn't have a set narrative or story, but it was more the sensation of this gap between us, of this divide, of this impossibility of knowing and being known. This is the second piece in our Just For You virtual reality trilogy that we started last year with All That Remains. And in these works, we're exploring how we can take this theater aesthetic that we started in 2011, this Just For You performance series, where we had these large-scale immersive performances, sometimes 7 or 8 performers performing for one audience member at a time, and really immersing the audience in this encounter where we're breaking down the barrier between the performer and the audience and having this moment of intimate connection. And for the live performances, we'd have really emphasized the sensory qualities, and so smell and taste and touch, and really sort of focusing on the physical possibilities of live performance. As we've now shifted to VR, we've lost some of these potentials, but there's something amazingly powerful about the power of virtual reality. Regardless of where the audience is, anywhere in the world, that you can put on your headset and you're transported. That we can bring the audience through space and time, we can bend it around the audience and immerse them inside of our encounter. A big element of our work is the environment. That our set is not just something that's behind the actors or behind the audience, that we really sort of have it be a dynamic character in the experience. And so in the same way that the characters evolve over the progression of the encounter, the set also changes. It sort of breathes or moves or interacts with the performers. It becomes a dynamic character. There's almost an animistic quality to it. In the same way, our work, there's a really handmade quality to it, that each of the elements we build ourselves, we paint ourselves, and it probably would be easier to hire someone else to do that. But there's a truthfulness to the materiality. There's a sensual quality that we're immersing the audience inside the work. The performers are such a huge part of our experience that we're not asking them to be good actors, but to be generous people. That they disarm themselves, that they open themselves mentally and emotionally and physically to immerse themselves in the encounter. And by disarming themselves, they're also providing a gateway for the audience to also let go of themselves, to really see and be seen. And so there's a moment where when the performers lifts their head and something is happening internally, there's an actual psychophysical transformation of the performer. And by their willingness to go through this, are also creating an opportunity or a window for the audience to undergo the same process as well, to let go of oneself. When we formed Riverbed Theater 25 years ago, we would really emphasize over the past period of time this idea of total theater, of that each element within our production was its own unique art form. And as we've now made this transition to virtual reality, it's equally true that the costumes and lighting and sound and music and working with Funique to really introduce us to the possibilities of virtuality, that this generative process is so much bigger than any individual, that virtual reality really is a total art, a total experience. As we're thinking about so much of our life and sort of how we try to get as efficiently as possible from point A to point B, and As we're thinking about our own experiences, obviously that's the most effective way to travel, but there's also something sad about it. About before, 20 or 30 years ago, before we had our cell phone and GPS, that we'd arrive in a city and we'd wander off the beaten path and we'd get lost. And with Over the Rainbow, we're really trying to create an experience where the audience, we can lose ourselves. That there isn't a set meaning, there isn't a set, this is the message. But we're trying to create this series of moving images, like a living painting or a living sculpture. And we're inviting the audience to let go, to lose yourself, to embrace the unknown.